We are recording. Welcome to TOPCON 2020. This was a cockamamie idea that I got a Facebook memory from last year's TOPCON of the promotion of it. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's really sad that we can't do that. We had talked about it when the COVID first started, that we'd still be able to. But there was one night I probably had two glasses many of wine or something. And I was like, you know what? Let's see if everyone wants to do this again. And out of a random evening Facebook post, we sort of got this thing put together, and we still folks coming in. And we're going to do a number of things today, but before we do anything else, because this is a theology of play, I think it's appropriate for us to pause for a moment and just offer a short prayer, blessing our day. And if you don't mind joining me in that now. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of this day. We thank you that amidst a global pandemic that we could still gather together virtually to play together, to learn together, to grow together, and to connect and build relationships. And we thank you for that opportunity. We thank you for the technology that allows us to do that. Today, we ask that you would bless those who are coming in and out, that you would enlighten them with a new understanding of a theology of play and how it relates to us in the Imago Dei, that you would make new connections and open new doors for ministry around the country. For your continual provision and sovereignty, we are grateful. And in this time of Thanksgiving, we're reminded of the many blessings you've given us, even found in this day. We pray this thing in your name of your Son, Christ Jesus, and all God's children said. Amen. TOPCON 2020, again, just for those of you who don't know, TOPCON in general was birthed out of an idea a couple of years ago that Brian Frick, you can wave Brian if you're still out there, he's got his, Brian Frick and I, when I worked in the national office, we played lots of games together, and we got talking just about how fun it would be to get people who like to play games together. And the first round of that was to gather a number of game designers around the denomination. And we had put out two small card games through the college ministry and the camping ministry. And we wanted to do one around an intergenerational theme. And actually, now I think about it, I got them up here. I didn't plant those. Those are just always there. So the first one was You Grad, and it was kind of like love letters for all of you. I think it's a better version of love letters. It's more thematic. That was such a hit with the college students that we did an at camp version, which is basically love letters for camp. And then we asked folks 2 years ago at TOPCON to design a game that would be focused on intergenerationality, cooperative play, not necessarily cooperative gameplay, but just in the sense of you're not really doing anything negative at anyone. And we came up with a game called At Church. And that was the first TOPCON. We talked about what the theology of play was and how it factored into our life. And did we even want to talk about it? And there was so much excitement from that when I had a chunk of cash left over in the budget of our department in 19, we decided to, hey, let's do this thing. So we partnered with Manuka Conference Center, and we held a conference last year. There were about 40 of us there. And we basically spent about 3 days just playing games, talking about theology of play. Phil Walker Harding, who will join us later this evening, did a few keynotes and lectures and workshops, and a number of us did some teaching around it. It was just, the whole thing just came together. And honestly, in about 10 years of conferencing, but really 6 years in the national office of really leading and guiding conferences, I would have to say TOPCON looms large as one of the most favorite game or just conferences in general. And not because I got to play a lot of games. I think I only played like 3 games the whole weekend because I was leading stuff, but because I saw incredible connections in community. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about today, how it benefits the elderly and mental health. I'm going to talk about how to lead community games and how to do all the games that we've done online here are actually games that I've done over the last 7 months in my life and my church. I went from the position in the national office to a 40-person church in a 400-person town in the most remote county in the lower 48 states in the Rockies. And so I am the oldest church on the Western Slope. So I am isolated. So board gaming became a huge thing. And I've taken one of the buildings that we have in our church here, and I've turned it into a game library. and so I am sitting in well games up also upstairs the building, so it works on multiple levels. But that's the logo down there. That's our game library. And so this whole concept of the idea of let's get together and play games, it stuck with me. And since last year, it's stuck with me. And I've been mulling over and I've been reading. So there's a lot I want to share. There's a lot I want to play. The idea of getting your folks together on Zoom for playing games is something that we don't think about often, but is a incredible ministry because we're all zoomed out because we're all sick of doing what we're doing right this second, listening to one person talk, and we'll try to stop that soon. But to interact and to play and to laugh and to joke and to kind of have that engagement virtually is something that is difficult. I think that's why the game Among Us, the online platform that's like Mafia, has skyrocketed because it provides a genuine form of interaction online that a lot of people don't get. I think even in Facebook and live and recorded services, it's still spectatorship. You get a little bit better with Zoom, but we mute everyone, so then it's still sort of spectatorship. So that's what we're doing today. 11 hours is what it's going to end up being that we're going to sort of be on, and we're going to push through and we're going to play games and we're going to see how they go. And I'm going to introduce some of those now, but first I just kind of want to go over quickly the schedule. And if you haven't printed out the pack, this is what it looks like. You don't have to print out the whole thing, but it has everything you need to participate in today's activities. We are now, and all at Eastern time, so we're now at 10 o'clock, and we're doing the welcome and the introduction. This is going to end here in a few minutes, and then what will happen is we'll just stay on now if you want to just chit chat. But at 10:30, for those who want, we're going to look at Among Us. And for those of you who never play, I'm going to explain how it works. I'm going to show you some stuff online, and that will help you orient yourselves. And then we're going to basically have people post some codes up on the TOPCON site. So if you have, so in between stuff, I mean, Among Us games take like 5 minutes. So in between stuff where there's little gaps, or if you're just bored with hearing me talk, you can tune out and go onto Among Us and play that. And the idea is if you're playing with people who you kind of know or you're doing something with, it's kind of fun. So we're going to open up a bunch of private rooms for that. That'll be at 10:30. At 11 o'clock, we're going to play our very first game. And what we have here, I have two old prior to moving to Lake City, but they all of a sudden were a great way to play games online. And so I have amassed a little bit of a collection here. Just these are all the roll and write games that I'm tinkering with, and we've played about 8 of them. Today we're going to play Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Once you play it once, it makes more sense. And I'll tell you what, we'll play this now, and at the end of the night, if you want to play it again instead of Bloom or something, we can play that. But this is essentially a game that, and if you look on your player sheet, that you have, and we're going to play the version, but it has these rows, and essentially what I'm going to do is flipping cards, and you're going to be putting the numbers of those cards in ascending order from left to right. And so you can skip spaces. They don't have to be consecutive. And then here, there'll be a, and I'll explain these all more when we do actually game, but then you'll put a lot of choices. So good choices. It's a little bit more complicated, but still nonetheless, it was one we started with. We probably played it for like a month and a half before we switched to another game. The next game we're going to play, which has been a fan favorite of our gaming group, has been Rolling Ranch. And Rolling Ranch, if you see, and then by the way, the second page in that workbook, this is all goes with Welcome To, and you'll need to print that out too. This is like a guide to help you score, and these are the goals. Rolling Ranch was one that I wasn't excited about, and as I played it, it really was amazing. It is streamlined, it's simple, it provides simple choices, but great strategy in a lot of different ways you can go. Hands down, it's a roll and write that if you said, hey, Jason, let's play roll and write, I would, and if it was this one, I would say yes. Automatic. I mean, it was just, I have never got sick of playing it, and I've always enjoyed it. And they have one side is the same map, so everyone can, it says you're choppy. Let me see if I make sure I'm on the right network here. Sometimes you might have had a little blip there as I switched over to a new network. And you are all now no longer visible. Are you all doing that on purpose? Come on, man. Oh, there you are. Okay, let me know, Bill, if that's better. I was on a network that was actually at the church, and I'm in a little annex building, so it must have connected over there. But Rolling Ranch is great. All of these games, I don't think a single Rolling Ranch is over $20. The next game, so all of these are really accessible, and all of these that I'm showing you can be played with multiple groups. I've had to tweak some of them, and I'll tell you where I tweaked them, and you can tweak them how you want. But the next game is that we're going to play is Railroad Inc. There are multiple versions of this game. It's a really slick presentation because it comes with more sort of a eraser board type style mats, so that you don't even have to use paper. Some use paper, some don't. You can play up to 5, and it comes with markers. And each game that you get will have these basic 4 dice. And over here, each of the colors of the game, there's a blue and a green, I think, and maybe even a brown. But every one you do has different expansion packs in it, and they can all be played together. You can play one giant game with all the different extras. It's a really great game. I have adapted this player sheet for you all. This row here is not normally in here. I've scanned it and stuck it in there, so you won't see that in the original game. But I think that helps when you're doing a large group game and you can't be physically with the dice to see them, to track what you're doing. The next game is that we'll be playing. Okay, I should have stopped. At 1 o'clock, we'll do a plenary. And on Sabbath play and the Imago Dei. And for those of you who know me, I have a long history studying Taizé, and I've kind of connected through Taizé to a doctrine of Sabbath. And then as I was dealing with all this theology of play stuff, I started to realize that I think what we do in play actually is an incredible connection, and it is almost an idyllic form of how what the images are or the characteristics are of what we call the Imago Dei. So the image of God imbued in us in creation, in this, and how we dwell with God in the seventh day rest is in a spirit of play. And I think that spirit of play touches into the very things that we say we find in the Imago Dei. And that's at 1. Then we'll play Rolling Ranch at 2. Rolling Ranch and be on time for that, because we'll have to start then at 3 when Bill Lane will join us. And Bill, give a wave over there. Bill will be doing and I didn't put I'll put your description up a little later, Bill, to kind of let people know right before or a little before it happens. But board gaming and mental health and seniors, I'm looking forward to that. That's a topic that I'm fascinated with. I think that we should, out of this TOPCON group, get like a giant Lilly grant and approach adult living communities about integrating gaming programs, because I think that the development cognitively and the sustenance cognitively that you see in older adults playing games is phenomenal. So that's at 3 o'clock. And that'll go till just before 4, and then we'll play the Railroad Inc. And that'll take a little longer sometimes because of the spatial orientation. So I've given some extra space and time for some of these, but there'll be a break after that. So we'll resume 5:30, and that'll be a workshop at 30 where I'm going to talk about how to host these things. And then I'm going to go through these other games too that I had over here and just sort of give you an example of what is out there, the challenges that I faced. One of the days, beauty of board game night online is you own. Yeah, sorry, is it choppy again? He's saying. Yeah, I don't know what I can do about that. I'm in the mountains and sometimes it's choppy, so we'll hope for the best. Maybe it's yours, Bill. But yeah, he said it's not. Probably not. It's probably me. I'm again. I'm an hour and 15 minutes from the nearest grocery store. But we're going to look at what it takes to host a game night, and I think the beauty of it is I have had as many as 12 or 13, and from our local area in our church, and as many as 1. But the beauty of it is if you only have 1, you can still play the game. And so there's no loss there, and there's still connection there. And then it's even more rich in many ways. And then that'll go for about a half an hour, 45 minutes or so. There'll be a small break. And then Phil Walker Harding's going to come in. He'll be joining us from Australia. So he'll be getting up in the morning. That's his morning time. And he's going to be talking about, he was with us last year, for those of you who don't know. For those of you who are not familiar with Phil Walker Harding, he is absolutely my favorite board game designer. And he happens to have a master's in theology. And he'll be joining us tonight talking about his new games. But if you're familiar with Sushi Go or Imhotep or Baron Park or Cacao, or some of those sort of games, those are games that he has done. And they're amazing, and they're great sort of mid-weight strategic family style games. But he's going to be joining us, and he's just going to share with us what he's doing. Really, he doesn't really have an agenda. I don't have any questions. We're just going to wing it for a little while, and then we're going to play Phil's game. And some of you won this game. I even have a signed copy because this was mine from last year. But so we're going to play this game, and we're going to play an online version of it. And as many of you know who've played it, it comes with cards where you're choosing islands. Well, with Phil's permission, and I sent it to him after I did it, I actually scanned a number of the cards, took the islands and put them into a big sea of blue, and kind of made it again because we're doing roll and rise. We want it on one sheet. So I had to change some of the mechanics to get it to work. Most of these other ones are already designed for that, but Phil's was not, and I loved the game and I wanted to make it a little bit better. Then we're gonna have a small break after that, and Phil can sort of hang out if you want to chit chat with him a little bit more, and then we're gonna come back at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And I know that's late for you Eastern folks, but for the Western folks, it's only 6. So we wanted to make sure we covered the bases. But then we're going to play a little game called Harvest Dice that I kind of thought looked stupid when I bought it. But I was like, you know what? I need some new roll and write games. And actually, it's phenomenal. It's a little gardener game. It's sort of, area management with 3 types of vegetables. And there's a balance in it. But it's a really cute game. It's really accessible. People just like it because they like drawing the little fruits. So I will play that, or the vegetables. Actually, technically, tomatoes are fruits. So, and then we will play the last game of the night. And if you want to play this, or we can play another game of Welcome To, but we're going to play Bloom. And Bloom is actually a much smaller game. This is actually like 4 times the size of the actual player sheet, but I wanted to fill it in there. But this is a game right game. This is the type of game you can pick up at Target, but actually it's a really great quick filler game. This was a hit amongst folks who were a little intimidated to join us, and we'll talk more about that later. But that's the last game we'll play. And that'll end us about 11 o'clock Eastern time and about 8 o'clock Pacific time. So I'm in Mountain Time for any of you who care, if you haven't figured out where I'm at. But that is it. I guess I'm going to stop, and I would say this is not meant to be a spectator thing. So as long as it's quiet where you're at, feel free to unmute yourself. If it's noisy, we'll tell each other because we'll hold each other to that. But one of the things I love about games is that we intersect, we interact, we connect, and so sometimes that's hard. I would rather deal with a little ambiance noise, or back if your dog starts to go freaking out, or your kid's screaming at you, you can mute yourself, or I'll mute you for you. But other than that, feel free to unmute yourself, talk, interact. So before I close off this video, this intro video, do you have any questions about the day? No? All right, well, great. Then welcome to TOPCON. I'm going to stop the recording, and then feel free to unmute. And in 7 minutes, we're going to do an intro to welcome, or to Among Us. There.